All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight. One important notice, as we're doing our videos and putting them online, it came to our attention that there are some other online presence, both on web pages and Facebook and YouTube that say stuff, Tinicum this, Tinicum that. The only two official township online presence is our website, which is tinicumbucks.org, and our YouTube link, which I believe is at Tinicum 163.
Yes.
On our YouTube channel. So just a note, if you see other items, they might be run by someone in the township, but they're not official township online presence. Those are our only two. Emergency services, looks like we don't have anyone from emergency services this month. Old business, headquarters road bridge. We had no update on this. We did receive last minute at 6:30 tonight, potential for some funding abilities for the bridge. So at the end of this meeting, we are going to continue this meeting until Thursday after we get a chance to review that and discuss that here in public and decide if we're going to try to move forward with this potential grant opportunity or not. But that just came in tonight, so we want to make sure that there's a deadline of the 15th to make a decision, and so we got to continue this meeting to have time to review it and discuss it.
It's
So
Thursday at 4 o'clock, right?
Thursday at 4 o'clock, and we'll again announce that when we close. On to new business, volunteer board appointments. We have one potential volunteer. Terry?
Yes. She's here tonight, Lauren Zaka.
Okay, Lauren. Hello. And I guess I will make a motion to appoint Laura to the EAC committee. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Vendor list for Tinicum Earth Day Fair. So we have an updated list,
Yeah, the additional. It's not
in addition to what
changed.
we had already approved. This is in addition. I guess I don't have any questions or issues with anything on there, but I'll bring it up. I'll make a motion to approve the new list. If someone would second, we'll give a discussion.
Second.
All right. Any discussions on any of the new vendors?
Cindy Gasparri. There may be one other vendor that's not on there. They're called Out of the Box Landscaper. And they are a green landscaper, and they have offered to come, and they'll sell birdhouses and native seeds and plants, and I think they'll be a nice addition.
I'm sorry, what was the name again?
Outside the box.
Outside the box? Thank you.
Yes.
Where are they located?
They are in Doylestown.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'll amend my motion to include the list in front of us, plus outside the box landscapers out of Doylestown.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Septic amendment replacement repair systems. So I guess it was brought to our attention by Carl, member of our PC, about previously what we had adjusted the septic system ordinance to try to make repairs a little bit easier, as previously the township requested that both you fill out an application with us along with the health department, and also if you were going to be doing repair, have to find a replacement area if you were to have to replace your original system. So in practice, a third area for a potential septic system. The intention of that at the time was to alleviate that burden on someone who is replacing a system. And I believe Carl found some language, or believes the language might be there, it might be not as clear as we'd want it to be.
Well, Carl Ruthard, Center Road. I'm on the Planning Commission. Back in 2019, the board assigned the planning commission to review the septic ordinance. There were some things in there we felt were onerous to our citizens, and we tried to ease some of the more burdensome requirements. So I believe the planning commission agreed, as I remember it, the board of supervisors agreed that we wouldn't require a replacement area for replacing a system, an additional one. So right now, when we have a new development on a lot, we require two. Require the main one, we require reserve for later on if the other one should fail. When we're doing a replacement repair system, we're just trying to alleviate an issue of a failing system. And what happens is when you're looking to get another reserve system, it costs more money. It takes more time. And all the time that we're doing this is the system is failing. So, and it's expensive as well. Yeah. And it's expensive to begin with. So we're just adding on to that. And we felt, as the planning commission felt, it really wasn't necessary, and it costs quite a bit of money and delay in repairing a system. So we had made that recommendation. We had the amendment completed, and we assumed that our recommendation made the amendment, and it didn't. Tracy Tackett at the time was writing that. Yep. We made that, we had a meeting, we reviewed the amendment, we added that. It never was changed. It came to the board approved it without that stipulation. So I'm asking the board tonight to consider amending it so a replacement system is, a replacement area is not required when making a repair replacement.
All right. I think probably the best course of action would be to have the PC review that, recommend language change, and then present that back.
I think we already made the request in 2019.
I guess that's the same. Yeah, I mean, if you think, if you'd want the option to review it, we could give it to you. If you think the original language as written here, we could have that written up, and then we could discuss it at the next meeting.
I don't personally think it's necessary since the planning commission made that review, but
Okay.
a recommendation, if you feel it's necessary, we would just like try to get it in place. I've been getting phone calls from people that are really frustrated by what's out there right now. We had a gentleman come in here about a year ago, if you recall, who was on Municipal Road, I believe. He purchased a house.
Yes, I do remember
Remember that? And
Yeah.
he came back, I think.
Yeah, we had to walk him through the process.
Right,
Yeah,
but
yes,
it took like 2 or 3 months.
yes, he came back
And
2
he
or
was
3
very
meetings. Yes.
confused, and at the time, that's kind of when it came to my attention that it didn't wind up into the amendments. So it's your call, whatever you'd like us to do.
Well, I think there was a couple of items that they maybe like the PC to review and maybe add into this, if it's not there. I don't have a copy of that in front of me. But one of them was that the septic system meets the setback requirements of the ordinance. That was one thing. That the amendment applies to standard on-light systems for single-family detached dwellings only. These are some of the conditions I'd like to see in there. That the replacement does not increase flow / size of system, etc.
I think it's already in there.
Well, it may be. I'm not looking at that because I don't have a
That's
copy.
just
in
the
front of me.
minutes from the PC.
Oh, okay.
That's
So,
not the amendment.
Okay.
That part just didn't make. the
okay. So if
amendment.
they're all in there, then you're good. But there's one other.
Yeah.
That the applicant show to the Board of Health Township, copy to the township, that the existing system cannot be repaired instead of replaced.
Are you reading that off the amendment?
No, I'm reading it off of a sheet with some comments that maybe we'd like the PC to review and see if they can include in that.
Carl, hold on before you go.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to, Rich and Jim, just to make sure that I understand the language that the PC has already approved, and recommended that
We
the
recommend.
board amend the ordinance. I'm looking at the planning commission meeting minutes from October 22nd of 2019 under old business, paragraph 1. I'm gonna show you. There's a highlighted section.
Yes.
Do we have a copy of that?
Above that. No, I wasn't given that. I'm sorry. I'll pass it down.
I was
to you.
asking her if we have a copy.
Okay, so under old business paragraph 1, there's little a. And it says section F remains, but delete lines 1 through 13 and change line 14 to line number 1. Then there's highlighted little b.
Mhm.
That says if using replacement area for septic system, there's no requirement to develop another replacement system area. Is this highlighted language under B, are you suggesting that that go in under section F?
I'm just requiring that it go in, that it be added to the existing ordinance.
Somewhere in there.
Correct.
Okay,
So we don't have that burden on people when we're just trying to get a repair
okay.
done.
For some more clarity, basically.
Well, right now, we're requiring them to find an alternative area when they're doing a repair.
Mhm.
And honestly, so a septic system will last quite a long time, obviously, and there might be 4 or 5 owners in between by the time it fails. No one knows where that area is. It's not fenced off. Someone can put a shed up there. What we're trying to do is just alleviate the issue of a failing system. I'm sure you would agree, as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. And as least expensive as possible, because a septic system now is $30,000 to $40,000.
Yes.
We're gonna add another $2,500 on there, digging another hole for a reserve system down the road, when we're just trying to alleviate the issue of a failing system.
I'm not sure. I think we all agree. It's fine. I mean, I think that's good. We're just asking that if it's repaired, then you don't have to worry about finding a reserve because it's already there. It's in place. You're repairing something.
Well, I guess the terms are a little confusing. It's
A reserve,
a repair replacement.
Right.
You know, you're repairing the current system by actually replacing it. So in that.
But
in
but
that
it's, then you
situation-
don't have to worry about the reserve system because you're not touching the reserve system.
no,
You're
No.
putting it into the reserve system.
Yes,
So
correct.
that's replacing what's existing and
Yes.
going into a
so
reserve
if we
system.
have a house next door that is failing.
Right.
And they really,
It can't be repaired is my question. It's got to be replaced.
correct, replace, repair.
So my
So
question,
now we're saying, okay, build a new one,
Right.
but at the same time, find another spot
no,
somewhere.
I get all of that.
That's,
But I'm using the Golden Pheasant Bridge as an example. They had a system, an existing system. They probably don't have a reserve system because it's probably been 100 years there. So what did they do? They went in and they repaired the one that was failing. So if they had a reserve system, they didn't have to go into a reserve system. They just repaired, they were able to
I think
repair
that was
the existing.
an anomaly because there was no room for anything else for a new system. Because they have no room down there, and it's rather expensive to remove all that dirt, bring new dirt back in and keep it in the same spot, because I don't think they had an alternative.
Yeah, well, that might be the case, but so if there is a system that's failing and the professionals that look at it, they say, hey, it's failing because a couple of the pipe cracked or they're leaking or something like that. That's a
that's-
repair. That's
yeah.
my point.
I think we're talking replacement repair.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's called replacement repair.
Replacement
Yeah,
repair.
so
We're
the
talking about
language
a
is
new
little-
drain field,
Yes.
a new system, a total new system, because the other one is just failing now.
Right, so
And
then
so we
my,
don't have to go and
so then my point is,
identify a further.
if it's a
reserve.
minor repair on the existing system, then that should be done before you go into the reserve system.
Well, I think that's always done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, but I was saying clarity on that, that's all.
Well, we adjusted it because we actually used to require the township to have a permit for a repair on the
We don't
existing
have-
system.
we
So
don't
that
have
doesn't
that.
happen anymore.
Right.
So that's
It's all the Board of Health.
Right.
Correct. And
It's
so, yeah,
this-
I think that's sort of a default because,
Right, that's happening already.
well, just by default, I mean, you know,
Well,
couple $1,000.
Does it have to be written in here?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, you're talking about a couple $1,000s to compared to someone wanting to spend no one's gonna want to spend the $30,000-$40,000 unless they
No,
have to come in.
I see a
That's
lot
that they
of
can't be
systems
repaired.
being repaired, a tank being replaced and.
Right.
Yeah.
And they get it they get a permit from the county and they replace it. But if it's determined that the whole system has to be
That's
replaced.
different. I get
Yeah.
that.
Right,
Yes.
we shouldn't have to go the next step further of identifying another
Mhm.
reserve system. We're just
Right,
trying to
yeah.
alleviate
Yeah.
the issue.
So
Mhm.
Carl, you're hearing, have you heard recently from, property owners in
Yes.
Tinicum that this is a
I've
concern?
heard over the last year, I've heard complaints about it
Okay.
from septic designers, installers,
Mhm.
and residents. That, why do we have to go find an alternative spot when we're just trying to alleviate an issue by
Mhm.
putting a new system in?
So
And as an example, when the gentleman came in here, I think he came back 2 or 3 months in a
Mhm.
row. Or 1 month he missed, I think the next one he came back. So for 3 months, when you finally said you gave them the waiver, for 3 months that was failing, and I'm sure it was failing way before that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an urgent thing to fix the septic system.
So then,
I
on,
think somebody else
Yeah.
wanted to speak though.
Neil?
Neil Sullivan, Headquarters Road. I was just gonna clarify. What we're referring to clearly is only the fact that if you're replacing your septic system. Probably, Rich, you're probably the only one in this room that actually has a replacement system on their property area.
No, I'm sure other
I
people
have
have it.
You have one?
Mhm.
So you had to do it because of,
Well, you're
Replacing
building
your
a house
system?
or
Yeah.
maybe you
You-
moved into a
you-
house that already has a replacement area.
yeah, or you put a system in and you have to identify the replacement area.
only, in most cases, only new houses have the requirement to have a replacement system for their for their brand new septic. Most everyone else is simply in a rural residency, their septic fails, they need to get a new septic. All we're asking is that we remove the requirement for them to get essentially
second.
a third system location. That's it.
I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's objecting to
That's,
that, Neil.
then I
think
I
everybody
just didn't
agrees,
understand the
but-
language that you wanted to add to it. There was really no language added because everything else is done by the Board of Health and our regular rules.
Okay.
So
That's
I-
all.
So I think there are two things. I think there's this one tiny issue that Carl identified, Neil, that we're kind of all in agreement
Mhm.
on. There's that language. And then there are the other kind of broader concepts that you've identified, Rich, and what you read off. And I think what I'm hearing is that on this narrow issue, it would be helpful if we could address that now. And then send these other kind of broader issues to the PC for consideration.
Okay, so there's applications right now that are outstanding, waiting for us to approve tonight. Is that correct?
Believe there's
some,
yeah.
Pending.
Right.
So you're,
There are.
Sure.
I believe what you need to do is make a motion to authorize Steve Harris, if they didn't give you the exact amendment, to amend the ordinance and then bring it back to you for advertisement.
Yeah.
I think that's where your motion would need to go at this time.
Well, I'll make that motion to have Steve Harris add that to our existing ordinance about getting rid of the need to identify a replacement system if you are replacing a current system in the septic.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I don't know if you wanted to address these other comments, Rich, with sending to the PC while we're at it?
No, well, I sent it to them because they should see it and.
And we can actually do it, if, when you're talking to Steve.
Well, see if these are included or not.
What are you reading?
No, there was a discussion about, we were gonna talk about this septic tonight, right? We didn't have a copy of whatever it was that you had presented in 2019. We just didn't have it. So we didn't know, I'm not saying Eleanor and Jim so much as myself, didn't know what was in it. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
okay, well,
So
okay.
that's my point. So you might look at this and say, well, you don't need that because it's basically in it. But I don't know that. I haven't been able to find it. And as you said, it was 2019 when Tracy was doing it.
Right, I had pulled the minutes. I think I sent that over to the
Yeah.
township.
I think what we'll do is we'll just double check that any of these
Yeah, just
concerns.
double
we'll-
check it.
we'll
But I
have-
think everything else in the new amended septic ordinance is kind of up to date. We made changes. We didn't require as much escrow because we were
Well,
requiring.
that's a different issue. We're only talking about this
Right,
reserve system.
but I don't
which
think
is-
we're proposing any other changes unless you
Carl?
are.
Yeah. Sure.
I think there's just a little miscommunication. The board isn't proposing any other changes, but before someone comes in to ask for a waiver of replacement area, they want to make sure that it's a direct, maybe direct replacement rather than I need to replace it because I'm gonna build a bunch of rental units or something. The ordinance probably addresses it, but if it didn't, they wanted your confirmation that replacement is simply replacement, or that, maybe the existing system didn't have a smashed leach line that could just be fixed rather than replacing it. So I don't think there's any issue with what you're asking for with them. I think there's just a communication and things they want confirmation of.
Yeah, and we could ask Steve to take a review of these items as he adds these into it. Because I think you're more.
He might say that they're already incorporated in the whole.
Yeah.
thing.
I think
Yeah.
they are.
He may say that. That's.
Yeah, I mean, we just, just our recommendation didn't make it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
and we had talked about it.
Yep.
And the only reason we found out is when that gentleman came in and we all looked at each other and said, didn't we deal with this?
Mhm.
And then I went back and looked at the ordinance and it wasn't in there.
Yeah.
So-
we'll ask Steve to.
Probably
review
should have
these
done it
items and
sooner than tonight.
I'm
make
sorry.
sure-
I probably should have brought it to the attention of the
No, I'm glad you
board
brought it to our
sooner,
attention so we can get it
'cause
resolved.
it's been in
Yeah.
place for a while,
Yeah.
but it's just a burden that's not
Yeah,
necessary.
no, that's something that we talked about back then, so. All right, on to announcements. We have Tinicum Earth Day Fair is going to be held on April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with various vendors and other activities up at our park. We have the Tinicum Conservancy Amphibian Crossing. We've spoken about this before. This is every year beginning in mid-March. There is a bunch of small animals that need to migrate across the roads in certain areas of the township, and that is very weather dependent. And we do have some volunteers that could, help to assist with these creatures getting across the road. The best place to see where that might potentially take place, because it is weather dependent, would be tinicumconservancy.org. We had some concerns with streaming issues. I know we're still going through with this. We did talk with our provider, and there are some, I guess, tips, if I could call them that, for doing this. One of which is, anyone who's listening online at the moment, if there's issues with the volume and whatnot, we did have that checked out here. There was two potential issues that you could have at your house with not being able to hear us very well, because when we do upload our recorded videos to YouTube, the volume seems to be fine. Number one, double check that your computer and your Zoom volume are up, because you potentially have two volumes on your computer for hearing us. The second is, depending on your bandwidth at your house, if you do not have enough bandwidth on your internet service provider, that can affect both the quality of audio and visual that you are seeing online. So keep that in mind as you go through that. And, we are Tinicum Township and not the city of Philadelphia. So as we continue to, work through this every meeting, please be patient, and, we're trying our best, and, things will get better as we go. But again, we're trying to make this as quality as possible. So, please be patient, and, give us a little bit of time to upload stuff the day after and whatnot, because there are lots of things going on in the township every day, but we do try to get them up as soon as we can. And we now do have the YouTube page. So please do go on afterwards if you want to, and you could view it on there, and they will be on there that's where we're going to store them for the time being. We had an issue we had some comments on the early online version of the Herald article, specifically about our tax collector situation. Just as a note, if anyone read that early online version, that was corrected. There was a confusion between the author and the editor of the Herald. and they had misstated that there would be a joint tax collector going forward, and that was incorrect. We have replaced our tax collector with the new one. The print version and now the online version has been corrected. So just as a note, if anyone saw that original version, that was incorrect in the beginning. There was we did have a residence fire on Perry Auger Road. This was in Nockamixon. It was the Finger family. They are a close neighbor to Tinicum. This was on Sunday, the evening of February 26th. The house was lost. If you would like to reach out and offer any help or assistance, you can contact the Palisades Regional Volunteer Fire Company for more information on how you can help the family. We had an update on the coalition against bigger trucks, which is a coalition that the township had signed up for. They had just sent out a blurb on some updates of what they were doing and sort of the reasons why they thanked us, you know, and all the other entities that had signed on to this. Highlights of that update in particular was there's a proposal at the moment to allow an unlimited number of states to operate 91,000-pound trucks on the interstate for a period of 10 years as a pilot program. So they are actively trying to, you know, stop that. Currently, the limit for trucks across the road is 80,000 pounds in general. There was some emergency provisions that were also trying to expand authority to raise weight limits of state and in cases of state and national emergencies, which were written relatively vague with regards to suboptimal supply chains. And this would allow for weight increases for up to 6 months after emergency declarations have ended. So that is something else that they are working towards. And then there was also a provision that was for weight allowance increase for battery powered trucks, which are obviously heavier and can't carry as much load because the battery weight on the vehicles are heavy. And also there was a note about potentially upping the weight limits on trucks that carry electric vehicles to dealerships, as those vehicles are heavier and they cannot carry as many. So those are some of the items that CABT is working on, and you know, we signed up for that. So just wanted to give an update for things that they're working towards on our behalf and a lot of other people's. On to regular business. The minutes from March 7th, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor? The treasurer's report and budget recap will be presented at the next meeting. I will make a motion to approve payroll ending February 24th in the amount of $34,696.71.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Disbursements. Take a minute to review. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions on any of the items? No?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Penn Community Bank signature cards.
I got them, I'll just need everybody's signature, so that's on there as a reminder.
Okay.
You can do it after the meeting.
And our new account at Penn Community is for our
General fund, escrow fund, payroll fund.
Yep.
Checking accounts, because Univest closed their nearby branches, both of them. And now we're driving almost to Warrington every time we need to go to them.
so
Could you make sure it's like latches shut? Thank you so much.
there's no zoning hearing boards or zoning hearing schedule at the moment. Subdivision and land development. The land development use of Trenton and the conditional use of Trenton on 31 Creaming Road. Currently, we are scheduled to review this on March 21st. Did the PC get their update as of yet?
No, they've not received the revised plans, and I'm expecting that the applicant or the applicant's attorney will be sending us an extension letter, a request for extension, but I haven't received it yet. And so, the date will have to remain as the clock is the end of March,
Yep. What is when's our next PC meeting?
after your March 21st meeting.
Okay, so we don't have another meeting until after this is scheduled to be.
That's
here.
correct.
Okay.
But we do have recommendations from the PC, right?
No, not at the,
No, they haven't.
because
uh,
there's been,
The applicant hasn't submitted revised plans for them to review.
But if they don't submit it, do we have any,
yeah,
we'll get something from the PC then, if they don't submit anything to you for your review.
We don't. Well, basically, I think at the last meeting, we had asked them to go back and refine their drawings, and we brought up some issues.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it was going to be.
Got it.
So they had went back and they hadn't returned.
yeah. So it would revert back to the original recommendation if we don't get updates.
Be denied.
It'll be denied, yes.
That's your recommendation.
And then we have minor subdivision of,
We didn't vote on it, but that's what was going to happen. I think
Okay.
our chairperson had made it clear to them that if they needed to come back and revise their drawing because there were just too many issues with the plan. And if they didn't do that, we were going to deny it that night.
Perfect. Thank you.
But they did leave and promised to come back, and they
Yeah.
hadn't. since.
and they have given us a handful of extensions to date because they've yet to update get their plans together.
The extension's under the clock, and until we have it in writing, I have to date.
So. Okay. We also have a minor subdivision of Luck, and this is vacant lots located on Headquarters and Center Road. Tax parcel number 44015008 and 44014078. The planning commission review is currently scheduled for
It already
February
happened.
28th, which was previously. I'm assuming we reviewed that and we'll get comments on that. And then the Board of Supervisors is scheduled to hear that on April 18th. On the public comment. You want to come? Come on. Well,
Hi, Tim Cashman, resident.
Can you sign this?
Sure. Can you go a little more details about the information about headquarters, what you said earlier?
Right now at 6:30, we received an update for the potential of a grant that we could potentially apply for funding of doing either temporary or a permanent fix to the bridge. We don't know the details because none of us got a chance to review it. So what we're going to do is continue this meeting to Thursday at 4, so we could all take the time, review it, and then discuss it in public and make a decision on if we're going to try to apply for that grant or not. The grant deadline is March 15th, so we don't have a next meeting to look
Yeah.
at that for.
Is that a grant, a private grant, or is that a state grant?
I think it's federal.
Is it federal?
It's federal.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I want to update everyone on about the bridge, I spoke to someone today at PennDOT about, is that with the temporary bridge, there's some hurdles they're going to have to go through. They're still going to hold things up. You know, it's going to be the court filings, the permitting, the design. Right now, we're probably in litigation 6 months out from where we're at to get a finalization of that lawsuit with which Gittimall's involved with. If you look at a temporary bridge, the weight limit's going to be restricted, where we still can't do EMS.
That is something that I will say that we are so we are looking into structures that will allow EMS in
Over 5 tons.
in emergency capacity. So it wouldn't be a continuous use for that weight limit, but it would be, the intermittent use of emergency vehicles of our size and weight that we have in the township.
Okay.
That would be allowed. That is a top criteria to have to fit to have that be an option.
Do you know what the weights are now that we're in between? Is it 5 tons that we're looking to do?
I don't know specifically. I know that that information was given to our engineer who's working with, trying to find bridge manufacturers that can meet that in that capacity. So
Okay.
he's talked to the chiefs and the ambulances to make sure that he has those weights. And that's that's ultimately the biggest challenge
Yeah.
between that and with having that weight availability is height of deck, because the structure gets pretty tall with I-beams that will support that. So, but that is the criteria we're trying to meet. If that doesn't get met, then there's not really a whole,
Okay.
whole huge region, but that's on the
No, I
top of the
appreciate
list.
that. I mean, the quickest solution right now is the 6 months we're looking at to go through the litigation. The quickest is if Get 'em All drops the lawsuit, PennDOT will start within 2 days. So I seen that you had a grant or something's coming up, make sure we're aware of the limitations of the temporary bridge and also limitations of how long that's gonna take. I mean, there's permitting, there's other people that would probably come at the township because it's a temporary bridge and they want a bridge that's, finished and completed after 15 years. So just want to state that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Tim, can you explain that last part again? People come after the township because of what?
Well, look at it this way. Look what people did come after the township when they wanted not to have a 2-lane bridge. You don't think there's people that don't want a temporary bridge?
No, I'm just trying to understand what you said. Can you repeat what you said, if you remember?
I do remember.
Okay.
If someone doesn't want a temporary bridge, you don't think you're gonna have a lawsuit against that? When you have a lawsuit against a 2-lane bridge?
I understand now what you're saying. Thanks.
We're clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vladimir Salamoon, Headquarters Road. I just wanted to publicly thank Eleanor Breslin. At the last meeting, when I left, I mentioned to her that there was a massive tree that was blocking the stream by the Iron Bridge on Sheep Hole Road. It turns out that was a county bridge, and the last time we went to walk our dog on Sunday, the tree was magically gone. It's been there for well over a year, and it's a huge, this was a sycamore tree with a trunk the size of your table here, and happily it's gone. And thanks to Eleanor's advocacy, we have that. And while I'm mentioning streams and trees, again, I want to say, which I've said for years now, that, our streams and our roads are parallel in most areas of the township. And trees that fall in the stream end up causing the roads to be washed out. And I do think that some kind of maybe a coalition of citizens and Public Works Department could do some work in those streams to pull out trees before they affect our roads and our bridges. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Eleanor.
You're welcome, You're welcome, Vladimir. And I will publicly thank Doug, who, looked into this situation and reached out to contacts that he has in the county, and they responded the very next day. So that was all Doug.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Nice.
Any other public comment?
Catherine Auerbach, Center Road. I always forget which one I say. Number one, I agree with Vladimir that many of these streams really are getting clogged up, and that we need to have maybe more formalized system of maintenance or identifying the problems, so that our streams, a lot of them are EV streams and things, that they maintain their health and they're not getting all sandbars and this and that and blockages, and in some cases major dams like right along the stretch that we enjoy on Headquarters Road. There's many trees now, and they need to be cleared out. So, and other issues of that nature to keep the streams healthy. I think it would be very helpful to have some kind of way to take a look at the stream restoration programs. And second, it's just not clear as to if there is a notification process or what type of process when there is a subdivision or a minor subdivision that comes up. Is there an official notice that goes to adjoining property owners for that? We have,
There hasn't been for years and years and years, but we looked into this and we believe that there was some fine tuning and amendment back in the back of the book. And the, developers or the applicants for subdivisions and land development will, and we've already amended our forms to require it, we'll have to notify the surrounding residents. Sorry about forgetting that. So, but you heard me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's gonna happen is the applicant or the applicant's attorneys or representatives are gonna notify everyone. And we're in the process of drafting a form letter, which will tell you to check the website and the agendas. The problem is we can't put dates of reviews on there because sometimes it's not accepted as complete or sometimes it's continued.
Mhm.
So it will alert, and then anyone interested can check our agendas online or call the office.
okay, yeah, I mean, so it'd be nice
So
to
that's
have,
where we're going with it, and we've already, I believe for the subdivision in your neighborhood, Adam Cruz actually did notify everyone. And on the land development application of Trenton, they were informed that with their revision, they're to bring us an affidavit as well. So thank you.
yeah, it might be helpful, maybe to have just a few, maybe just the process identified, even if there are no dates or timelines, but it wasn't stated in the letter that I received.
From
Just, it was just
survey.
like, oh, by the way, we're applying for this. Okay, what is the process? Is there a point where there's an opportunity for public comment or, I mean, like, or does it go to the PC and then to the supervisors? Like, what is the process?
So all of our
So
meetings
that
are
would be nice,
public and
yeah.
your comments would be welcome at all of the meetings. And so those meetings will be on an agenda. As they have been, but the letter will remind you to check our agendas. Because as I said, there are times when somebody brings in an application and they may notify you with the date they think that it's going to be reviewed. But if
No.
the planning commission and the engineer
Right.
don't have enough window of time, it can't be. So the letter is going to have to say to check online, and any of
Right.
those agendas, all those meetings are public, and the township and the commissions want the the comments, the public comments.
I think a great example is Trenton here. So
Right.
you see, we've got both a land development and a conditional use, which, both went to the PC for comment, but you see, this has been on our schedule now for the last 3 meetings because they keep getting extended. So it's hard to say when a meeting would be, but in general, those types of applications would go to the office, determine if they're complete, they would get scheduled for a PC meeting, get comments, then it would get scheduled for a supervisors meeting, which in the original time frame, assuming no one asked for an extension or extension was required.
Well, I think maybe something simple like that. So it's like a form letter of the process without.
Like
dates,
going to the
whatever.
PC and then going to the
Exactly. For
board.
people who are
conditional use.
unfamiliar, it's like, okay, what happens? Is it?
Yep.
What is the process? So I
So-
think just a simple thing like you described without any
Yes.
timelines is.
To
is a good thing.
include that information in
In
the
the-
letter.
in the letter.
That's a helpful comment for the draft of this letter
Yeah.
that we're going to come
Just to
up with
have-
and attach to the application once
Right.
we get it done. And also Kathy and everyone here. So if you notice on the agenda where you see Trenton and it's not being discussed tonight, that's part of the reason that I leave that on every
Right.
agenda, so that if you were interested and you went to the agenda,
And check
you
it.
could actually see
Right.
the date and not have to try to remember to check the next
that's
one as
good.
well. So I try to carry them forward even though they're not up for review.
Yeah, no, that's good. No, I appreciate that. It's just,
Yeah.
it was just sort of very vague,
Right? You
the
and I
letter that I
discussed
received,
that,
so
and
it's like,
yeah,
look,
Or-
just a little more, even a form letter that says, this is the general
Yes.
process, check the
And
website.
that is our plan.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's great. Third thing is there a newsletter coming out anytime soon?
Potentially, maybe. Working on it.
That much news?
It's close. We're hoping to try to get something out before the Earth Day events,
Good.
because we're trying to have some information related to that in there. So,
And then that will be mailed.
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, and then I guess fourth is thank you for alleviating the tax collection problem easily. And I went up there and
Did you get your bill?
person is, I've already paid it. I believe it. But, you know, it seems very efficient and very, very personable. And so I appreciate your efficiency in handling that,
Good to hear.
Yep.
situation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Sorensen resident. Oh, can I borrow your pen? Wait, I might have one. I have one. In regards to the notice of, development, one thing that I've noted, that I've seen in other municipalities, and I don't know if this is the developer that is responsible for doing this, or the landowner, or the township, but you will see a public notice, and I know we do it for variances in this township, but you'll see a public notice of subdivision, usually on a little stake with a placard, and it actually usually has a laminated site map with the proposal. And I think that can be helpful because, you know, maybe you're not an immediate neighbor, but maybe you're concerned about the township and what may happen, and you would want to come to a meeting to voice your concern, but you're not checking the agenda. I think that can be a visual indicator. So I think it's something that we might consider, looking into requiring for subdivisions. And I wouldn't want us to have to do that, but if it's something that we can require an applicant to make some sort of a small notice with a plan, I think it would be, in the public's interest to have that, awareness. I know, it would raise my eyebrows if I saw it, driving around, so. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Questions, concerns? I will make a motion to continue this meeting. We have. Oh, did not. We did have an executive session prior to this meeting at 7 to 7:30 to discuss personnel and
The newsletter.
in the newsletter. Yeah, the minimal information. So we're going to continue this meeting specifically to discuss the potential for a grant application on this Thursday, 3/9 at 4 p.m. It will also be streamed as well. So. Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is closed. Continued on Thursday.